Now, President Trump says he likes the idea of giving some of the savings from Doge back to Americans as kind of a dividend. Would you support that?
Listen, he's just telling a lie. He's not the one that had anything to do with the $1,200 refunds that people had during the midst of COVID. That was done by a Democratic House and Democratic Senate. Right now, what they're going to do is say, hey, we want to give you a refund, but Congress won't let us, because they already know that there's just no money for that. The only reason that those refunds came before was because we were living in different times. This was a time in which hopefully we won't ever go through again. We had a once in a lifetime pandemic. The bad part is that I don't know if it's once in a lifetime, because we know that Ebola, unfortunately, was detected right here in New York here recently. And if we continue down this road of getting rid of scientists or deciding that we don't want to rely on experts as it relates to what they're telling us to do, or we don't want to deal with vaccines and medicine in this country, then we may be facing not only our next pandemic, but our next 2, 3, or 4 pandemics because of their incompetence. So no, we are not in the business of giving out money. And honestly, I don't know what $5,000 will do for you.
Do you see what we're dealing with? So that lady, guys, was Jasmine Crockett. She is the reparation queen, as some people put it, but she's an advocate for reparations for Black Americans. Now, a lot of you know where I stand with the reparations. I think it's stupid. It shouldn't count for a lot of blacks. Now, I don't include myself in that because I am actually Puerto Rican Caribbean, right? So I'm not African American. Not the point. The point is that you watched that video, you saw what she said at the end. First of all, she said a lot of mumbo jumbo that had nothing to do with nothing. But then at the end, she goes, I don't know what $5,000 would do. Bitch, fuck. The American people are suffering financially. A lot of Americans are. $5,000 is going to get you a whole lot of eggs. That's number one. 2, pay your bills off, your rent. It could possibly pay your rent for a couple of months. Depends on where you live. You live in New York, maybe 1 month. But still, the fact that the Trump administration is thinking of giving each person $5,000 back because of all of the wasteful spending that they're finding is a good thing. But I don't see that happening. Again, they're toying with the notion. It's not that it's going to happen, because now a lot of people are throwing all these numbers out there. I'm hearing $2,000. I'm hearing $3,800. Then I hear $5,000. Like, it's all over the place. So we might get a refund probably next year, or maybe in the middle of this year. But that's not the point. The point, guys, is that the Democrats are crying about this Doge thing and them finding money being wasted all over the place, and actually crying about it, especially the whole transgender nonsense. They're like, well, you don't need transgender comic books in Peru. Like, where and why? In Gaza, which I thought was Gaza, but Gaza, Mozambique, if I'm mistaken, or Zimbabwe, Gaza in Africa. They're giving out condoms. And the condoms thing I sort of get because AIDS is rampant, but that's not our problem. And the amount of money they spend on the condoms was astronomically way too high. That's enough condoms for the world 10 times over. And not for nothing. But these people in Africa that are spreading AIDS like wildfire, they don't stop to think when they're raping a woman, guys, let's put condoms on. Let's keep her sick. The thinking that's in, it's dumb. And there's a lot of raping there. Like, Africa's like a rapey country. And yes, there are some spots in Africa that are nice, that you can visit without worrying about getting your ass grabbed and fucking torn apart. But there are other parts of Africa where, yes, it's very rapey. Point, guys, is that now the Democrats are turning around and crying about this refund, the possibility of this refund. It's not even concrete yet. They're crying about it. They're like, why did American citizens need? This bitch is worried about fucking reparations for Black Americans for this generation that never experienced that. Then they got this nonsense that they're trying to connect to it with the reparations is the past trauma. The trauma's passed down to family members. I don't buy that shit for a fucking minute. I don't give a fuck if you're Irish, you're Italian, you're Jewish, you're Black. I don't believe in that fucking past trauma bullshit being passed down. The attitude of the family members is what passes it down. And yeah, some people will say, well, if they didn't experience the trauma back then, it wouldn't have been passed down. That's bullshit. Because it's going on in fucking other parts of the world that didn't experience slavery. There are parents that act like assholes, and so what's their excuse? Because if you want to use past trauma, then you can use it for everyone. That means everybody that's in jail because of the past trauma should be released. Every guy who raped a woman, beat a woman, killed a child should be released because of their past traumas. It's bullshit. I'm not fucking gonna buy it. It's called responsibility, and nobody wants to fucking live up to it or own up to it. Everybody's like, well, I had past trauma. Some guy grabbed my dick when I was 4 years old. Grow the fuck up. Man the fuck up and march forward, and you know that you're supposed to do the right thing and the right things to do. We all fuck up in life. All of us, myself included. We all fuck up. You just stop, go, I can't fuck up anymore, and then you stop. It's that simple. So I don't believe in that past trauma shit. Not the point. The point, guys, is that now the Democrats are crying because I think they're losing money from all of these fake accounts that are going on, because this money is going somewhere. And I don't believe it's like, for example, the Peru transgender comic book thing. It's not going there. Which it's actually going to is a bank account that's supposed to be designated for them, and a lot of politicians are dipping into it. And there's thousands of accounts. And the Social Security thing, that shit, I just read about that, or rather I heard about it, the other day. I'm like, so they're giving money to people who are already dead. So somebody's getting paid, one of these politicians. And a lot of them are probably Democrats and Republicans alike. Let's not act like Republicans are not dipping into this shit either. They definitely are. But the amount of money, guys, that has been wasted, and then on top of that, the amount of money they're pulling out of our checks to pay this shit off, doesn't make sense. We got starving kids in this country and vets that are still offering themselves and not getting the medical coverage they need, and somehow transgender animals is taking precedence over them. The amount of money that they spend, they could solve military problems easily. They can get the vets squared away. They can get the military new fucking uniforms. They can give the military men and women who protect this country more fucking pay. Not that shit that they're getting and then they turn to welfare in the state they're in. Give them more pay so that they're not on welfare. This is where the spending is going. And then politicians are pocketing a lot of this shit. You got politicians that are making $150,000, $200,000, but their net worth is in the millions. There's something wrong. Keep this in mind. City workers are ostracized for making too much money when they work the overtime. Let me repeat that. I go into work. I make an exorbitant amount of overtime throughout the year. The Post or the Daily News feels that, oh, this motherfucker made $400,000 last year from working all the overtime. Why is he making all this money? And I'm actually going to work, putting my dick on the line, and yet this is what the Post does. Not saying they went after me, but they went after some guys a couple of years ago. And they were in the firehouse. They were working. They were on the rig, on the boats. They were working. And they sat there and they made it a fucking issue. So keep that in mind, that they go after city workers who are working too much overtime. They went after some MTA guy, I guess it was a bridge guy. The guy was pretty much working almost every day. He made some exorbitant amount of money. It was like insane. I think it was like close to like $400,000 or $500,000 for the year. And the Post went after him. Meanwhile, politicians who are making $200,000 salary are worth millions of dollars, but no one's raising that question. Very interesting. Still, back to the point, guys, is that reparations is okay, but paying the American citizens back what we're owed because it was stolen from us from the IRS, that's a problem. You want reparations for black Americans, but you don't want anybody else to get any of that money. This is the problem with the Democratic Party. This is the problem with politicians. Forget the Democratic Party. Politicians alike are scumbags because all they want to do is screw us over every chance they get. Now, I do have a list here of wasteful spending. I'm going to do another video on that because I'm at the 8-minute mark and I don't want you guys here longer than you have to be. But this next video on this wasteful spending is insane. This is The Angry Prepper. Thank you for watching the Angry Truth channel.